Welcome to the show, everyone. Today is a live coaching with me. And once again, as we started this coaching process, the trajectory was very different than all of the last live coaching sessions. I haven't really had to repeat any information, which is really interesting. And today's show was a hard one to name because it's going to go deep into religion. Not deep, but deep enough. We're going to spend some time there. We're going to spend some time in astrology because I'm trying to uncover a belief system and to link your belief system with your ability to receive, you feeling support. So I hope today is of interest to you, and I hope that you can find some tidbits of wisdom that could be applied to your life. I will also say that we will be doing practicing of support and receiving and connecting you and being in alignment at the Manifestation Boot Camp, which is coming up quickly here. It's October 11th through the 13th, and I will stress again, if any of you would like to come, it's the first and last time I'm going to do it, and please don't let money be the reason. So contact me, jj@jjflizanes.com, and we can work it out. I would love to help you increase your alignment, your ability to receive and feel support. So I hope you enjoy today's show. Welcome to the show, Jen.
Hi, JJ. Thank you so much for having me on today.
I'm looking forward to having a coaching session with you. You have a lot of experience in the health field as well, so it's an honor for me to have this conversation with you. And I'd like to know a little bit about what made you decide to do it.
Yeah, well, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on the show. I feel so honored to be on the show, and um, I found your podcast a little over a year ago and found it to be super inspiring as I was in the middle of sort of maybe up leveling or transition the service that I provide with my clients. And you just following you really gave me permission to, and listening to your shows, just, keep showing up authentically in what I'm doing. So when we connected over email, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is like, yes, like I'm in that space. I'm in that energy now. Like we're, like being on the receiving end of a coaching session with JJ, like that was just awesome. So yeah, I'm super, super honored and excited to be here.
Well, I hope I can help you. Let's see. I want to know a little bit about your story, the goals that I have, and you only wrote two, kind of. I mean, it says top three, but I guess we could divide these into four if we had to, but purposeful connection to joy and fulfillment, and then hormonal balance and empowerment. So I'm going to want to unpack that a little bit and figure out what that means to you exactly, even more tangibly possibly, but why don't you kind of give us a little story about where you've up-leveled to and why we're here right now and where you want to go next.
Yeah, thank you. So I believe that I've had many rebirths in this life, as many of us have, and have recently transitioned again about a year ago. So first career was mechanical engineer, had a major life-threatening health crisis with the birth of my first daughter, struggled for many, many years after having liver failure to really getting my health back, and ultimately just learned that the best path for me, for my health and well-being and for taking care of my daughter, was to really just begin listening to my body, whether it came to food or energy medicine or whatever decisions we were making. So at that time, I decided to become a health coach. I've been doing that for about 10 years, and about 4 years ago, I had a second health crisis. And I had this health crisis at the peak of eating clean. I mean, I was, anti-inflammatory, eating, cleansing all of the time. But the truth was my higher self kept saying, that connection to spirit is missing. And there was this inner just kind of void that was missing. And so from that experience, I began to go deeper into life coaching and spiritual coaching and yoga teaching and meditation, and began to develop my own spiritual practice, which now I know, and as I can see as I follow you, it's a belief, it's part of your belief system too. It's all about balance. So about a year and a half ago, I actually, as I was participating in a spiritually based life coaching training program, I had a shamanic healing experience that just really just kind of changed my whole perception and story around the trauma that I had experienced with the birth of my daughter, which was a near-death experience. And so I began to realize that this is really the deeper work that I'm meant to move into and to do. And I began learning and trusting and reconnecting with my intuition and empathy that was always there, but I didn't really know what to do with it. It was kind of disorganized. And so now I'm in a place where I feel like I'm in the space of sort of like that next chapter. And it feels, as I'm even speaking about it, I can feel it in my body. I can feel it in my heart and my throat chakra. It's like this knowing of like moving into this space of really receiving and wanting to receive like fully this next energy that I'm moving into. And it feels like joy and abundance are a part of it. But there are some belief patterns around that I have been doing some inner work on to sort of break, I guess you could say. And it's always easier said than done. So as I'm moving into this next sort of like level of calling in, this kind of new community and new tribe, as I begin to really speak more authentically in my truth about really the world that I live in, I'm also at a point in my life where I really want to do this in a way that is more in a place of receiving. And that is something that I have always sort of felt in the energy of your shows, is that this is something that you teach in your manifestation challenge. I'm signed up for that, so I'm super excited about that. And just really, learning to come from a place of like maybe doing less and being more, and just trusting, and really just allowing myself to feel empowered in sort of the energy within me, rather than kind of the hustle and the grind and, the busyness.
Okay. Now I have all of your other data here, your email with sort of the explanation of the liver failure and the thyroid issues, and feeling like you're pretty good on the food side and supplementation and stuff, and yoga and maybe energy. And I have your chart in front of me, as well as a bunch of other books that I prepared for today's coaching session, because I wanted to see sort of what level we were looking at. And so if we were to make this more tangible, and I'm all about the spiritual part, right? Like, what does that mean? What is it either physically, whether it be your body or money or more time or more rest or your thyroid fixed, what tangible thing are you wanting to have?
Support. And I think it's, I'm noticing a pattern that's showing up for this belief of, it's a belief that I've created that I'm not supported. And so energetically that can show up like, that could show up as like being nourished as food, or, even just, or it can show up as money, it can show up financially, but it's the feeling of like just being like in my root chakra. It's like this feeling of wanting to feel grounded and feeling like supported in, if you want to make it tangible, we can say relationships, but it's just this feeling of like really wanting to feel like I'm thriving because I feel supported.
Okay. And that is getting closer to tangible. Have you, whether it be through my show or through work prior to learning about my show, have you ever listened to the teachings of Abraham?
I am familiar with them, but I haven't gone too in depth.
Okay. So there's a belief saying, bottom line, I'm going to bottom line it basically. And it's about being in alignment, right? And when we're in alignment with who we really are, meaning our source self. And I want to pause for a second because I want to go back. This will only be impactful if it's either in alignment with what you believe, or if it has a possibility of becoming something that you can believe. So what is it that you believe, like where you brought up religiously? What is your relationship to God or source? What spiritual practice do you have?
So for me, my spiritual practice, I was raised Catholic, but it like it's always just been a really deep inner knowing that I've always had. And I was committed to, like when I was a teenager, like I went to church on my own without my family, and kind of lost it a little bit in the college years, and then, found a way to make it feel right for me, which feels very intimate and very sacred. So I do a daily meditation. I do journaling every day. I'm a Christian, and I mean, that's what I would believe. My Jesus is my ascended master. That's kind of just my own spiritual beliefs and practice. I'm open to everybody having their own ascended masters, but that's kind of where I'm coming from. Did I
Okay.
answer the question? Okay.
You did. We're going to take it further though, because I started, I would consider myself Christian as well. I just don't have probably the same relationship with Jesus, let's say, as it sounds like you might have. And it's all not the same relationship, because this is where I sort of feel like the understanding of law of attraction takes it like a step beyond. Do you believe, what is the hierarchy? Do you believe there's a hierarchy, or are you like, is God or Jesus separate from you, or are you a part of them or it, or?
So my view on it would be that I am a part of God, and so is Jesus, but that he was a teacher.
Okay. Do you feel where I'm going with this? In terms of
Am I seeing myself separate from?
yes. Yes.
Mm-mm.
Do you pray to or open to something outside of yourself? Or do you believe that you are part of that?
I believe I'm part of it.
Okay. Okay. I'm not trying to dance around.
No, I
Don't
really
wanna,
appreciate this. Yeah.
but there are a lot of people. It's funny because as I go through these coaching sessions, I keep thinking, oh, we're going to have some repeats. We're going to talk about, we're not going to have a repeat. This is like, I just did abuse and addiction, and now we're on to basically spirituality and connection to God or source. And that's like a whole new ballgame for me to have this kind of coaching session with someone on air. But I think it's important for everyone to hear, because it does affect energetically that receiving that we're talking about. One of the things that resonated with me big time was understanding that when Abraham said, you're the creator of your own reality, and knowing that source or God, that we're a part of source. And I always give the example of like the sun, like if source, creator, God was the sun, and you can say Jesus, probably Buddha, whoever someone prays to necessarily, if it's more of a person, that is the sun, but we're all sunbeams. So we're all literally like our higher self, the greater part of ourselves is still non-physical energy that's not here focused on earth. So if I know that if I'm in alignment with myself, I'm in essence in alignment with God, or for you, possibly you're in alignment with Jesus. And that's an important distinction to make if you believe that you are a part of that same energy versus you are separate from, because there's a whole different energy around deservedness and victimness and people thinking. And again, if any of you are out there and that is you, I'm not attacking you. I just have had friends who believe that Jesus and God is separate from me. I'm made in the image and likeness of God, but I am not God. And that immediately puts a hierarchy of that God is all powerful and I am not. It immediately makes it that if it's God's will, it'll happen, meaning I have no choice, and I'm some lowly, not powerful being myself. So to me, that doesn't resonate. That doesn't feel good. I don't believe that. It feels better for me, and that's one of the reasons why I've chosen and adopted this belief system, is because it resonated. I was like, yes, 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 I absolutely believe that. I believe that when I leave this physical body, I go back to non-physical energy. There's tons of non-physical energy that we just recycle, and you've said that. So I know that even though you're Catholic, you said we recycle, so you believe in reincarnation. But I wanted to just set the tone for a lot of people who, again, put God or Jesus or your source outside of you, meaning you're not the same. You're not made the same. The parts are not the same. That can be a disempowering belief system, because then it becomes something bad happens, and rather than you creating it and you being able to change it, you think, well, why did God do that to me? Or why did I deserve that? And again, those kinds of underlying beliefs are very undermining basically for our lives. And I know many people that go through, and it might be you, we'll uncover this. I worked with a practitioner who's been on the show. And one of the things that they believe is that we all, at some point in our lives, when we go through something really traumatic, that a lot of our injuries and our things that happen in our life that we manifest that are negative, some of those really core wounds, come from us being angry at God. But nobody wants to say that. So it's about exploring that relationship, that anger, that victimhood, if you will, which is still, whether we're victims or not, we experience pain, and sometimes we want to just be in that pain, and ultimately we're all victims at some point in time, but it's whether we stay there or not. So I'm going to shut up for a second. I want to hear how you feel about what I've just said and your relationship to it in terms of your belief system.
So my response into what you say is that everything that you said about your belief around God, I felt very much in alignment with. Like, I feel, I don't feel separate from God. Jesus, however, it feels like a teacher. It feels like a human being who embodied, like, I feel like he represented what we are here to do. Like, our physical body is here to embody the highest expression of our soul, which is God. Or, we could call it Christ consciousness. That's the belief that I have. And it is what I want to do myself, and also coach others to do. That's why I believe in taking care of the physical body, because we raise the vibration to hold that higher vibration or higher expression or divine source or God, whatever the word is that people use. I use the word God or grace. Embodying that in the physical body is part of this life experience. When you say the pain and the trauma and being angry at God, that does not resonate with me at all. That was actually when I had that sort of out of body shamanic healing experience like a year and a half ago. That was something that was like just a known truth to me. Like, I was even asked, like, are you angry at God? And like, there was just no way. There was just no way. There was no way I could be angry at God. And I don't know where that comes from. That's just a part of my being. It's just a part of my soul from being a very young girl. The pain for me where it becomes separate is when I start to, I would say what I'm noticing is that I separate somehow the human experience. So somehow I separate myself from my body, because I don't know if you're familiar with Enneagrams, but I'm an Enneagram 7. So I really don't like discomfort or pain. It's one of the reasons it's so easy for me to eat healthy. It's like, if I know what works for me, I'm going to eat healthy because I don't want to be uncomfortable from food. So although I love vulnerability and I love to do the inner work, to, keep evolving in this lifetime, there's a belief that, and like this, I wrote this article and it never published it. It was called, and I know you've done some podcasts on that. I was just listening to one the other day about, are you a spiritual victim or are you empowered? And that one obviously really grabbed my attention because I wrote an article maybe a year and a half ago, is suffering your spiritual teacher? So for some reason, there's this belief where I associate pain and suffering with the human experience. Although I know, because I've actually had more than one out of body experience, that there actually is it's sort of just like, it's just unconditional love. There's actually, when I was in that space, it wasn't one of like suffering, and it wasn't one of like ecstatic joy. It was just sort of like, it was just like peace. So there's sort of a disconnect there where for some reason, like this receiving of joy and pleasure, this receiving of integrating that part, although I seek it, but when I seek it, I seek it externally. So I seek joy and pleasure externally through surfing, through windsurfing, through traveling. I'm really good at that. So, are you following me? So it's just the like internal like peace and joy that somehow I haven't figured out how to receive or to integrate. That's where the separation is.
Okay. I have some fun things to share with you that might shift that a little.
Yay.
But first, I want to go back to the reason why I was digging a little bit about what your belief is in Jesus and in God, and I totally get that. So back to Abraham's teachings and about being in alignment, and that is what the manifestation challenge is about. And the show basically, right, is about getting into alignment with who you really are. And in times I had a therapist who loved me to death. She was the one that diagnosed me as being gifted. She put me on a pedestal, the super high. And even though, I still, had issues, and we did lots of hypnosis and EMDR, I felt her love for me. But she was a Taurus. And one of the things that she said to me once was, I think you go too far outside of yourself. Which, knowing she was a Taurus, and she also didn't know the work of Carolyn Mace, right? So I asked her, do you know about sacred contracts? Because she once told me also that I had the wrong parents. And I was like, yeah, I don't believe that at all. Like, that's not my belief. I believe I chose my parents, and there's a reason for it. And I know what the reason is, part of it. And I'm uncovering, as time goes on, more and more reasons for all the different stages of our relationship. But my belief about sacred contracts is so solid that when she said that, I just felt her love for me, when normally I would have reacted negatively to that comment. So going back to, sometimes you go too far outside of yourself. Well, as a Taurus, as an earth sign who's looking for stability and security and tangible things, I understand how she would think that. But on the flip side, it's the opposite for me, because as a Pisces with Sag moon, Sag rising, Sag soul, the broader I get, and the broader my beingness feels. So if you tell me that I'm the creator of my own reality, and that I am mostly non-physical, and only a small part of me is focused here physically, but the rest of me is still non-physical with source and creator. Now I've expanded so big energetically that I'm completely in alignment and connected. So now my channel is open, and I feel grounded. I feel grounded because I am now huge energetically. Does that make sense?
I hear what you're saying, and I think it's awesome. It's not like I'm curious about it, but yes, I hear you.
Well, you're a Virgo, so
right, exactly.
Right. So you're the opposite of me, completely in like just that sign. We're both fire signs for the moon, but you are on a sun level. You're the absolute opposite of me. Virgos and Pisces have, I have my strengths or your weaknesses, your strengths or my weaknesses, in a way, and we resonate differently. And you are about stability and tangible things. And as a Virgo, a little more linear, a little bit more sort of perfectionistic, a little bit more follow the rules, do it the right way. Like, there's a rightness to it. Now, I'm going to show you a little bit of information about your soul sign, which is in Libra. But before we get to that, and I can only ever do that if I plan ahead of time and pull out the book, because the soul signs are nothing like the other sections of the astrology, because, the South Node would be, but I know nothing about the South Node. But the North Node has literally the book. It's like one huge book just on that one position. So you're, as a Virgo and as a mechanical engineer, right off the bat, I feel a sense like needing support, needing security, needing boundaries, needing parameters, needing tangible, needing science in a way to prove over and over again. And so what's awesome about your path is you've chosen to jump into something completely not normal for you. Like, it's not in your energetic nature necessarily to look for support and stability within not something unstable. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So back to, still haven't finished my point here about, because I keep going on tangents, about the alignment. Okay. So Abraham talks about that when you're in alignment with source, that is the only connection we ever need. So when we're looking for love in all the wrong places, it's another fun phrase that they say all the time. We're looking for our husbands and our wives to make us feel secure, or our jobs to make us feel supported. And it's all of this humanly illusion, if you will, that we're looking for some kind of trust and support and concreteness, if you will, and unchangeable, something we can rely on, something we can trust and feel like, okay. It's like I used to make a joke about Tauruses, and I know many of my favorite fans are Tauruses. so smirk when you hear me say this. I'm thinking about you. That a Taurus needs a box, right? Needs, like I used to make a joke, the Tauruses need like a room to feel safe. Because as long as I know where everything is, I know that it's in the right place, I know what it is, I know what my boundaries are. Okay, now I can feel safe. Versus, even though I'm a Pisces, the whole rest of me, the Sag part of me, if you put me in a box, I mean, the idea of the box, I start to have anxiety. It's the idea of, I'm not claustrophobic, but it's this whole like, oh my God, I'm going to be boxed in, I'm going to lose my freedom. So it's the difference of how, again, we interpret things and what our I'm going to say energetic blueprint needs are based on our astrology. Now, you have a Leo moon and a Scorpio rising. Your Leo moon is fire, so that's the whole like taking action, which is great, because especially when you're dealing with emotions, you're kind of like attacking them, and you're doing something about it. You're not necessarily overwhelmed to where you can't do anything. Like, like having fire in the moon is good for moving it, because fire is about moving and movement. Earth is about stability and security, which is good and bad, right? So the negative side of security is that it's an illusion. So if we look at life, like, really, security is kind of an illusion. So then we go back to, what is it that we're looking to be in alignment with? We're looking to be in alignment with source, with you, with the higher part of you. And you can make that Jesus, and you can make that God, but it's literally finding the support, finding the stability, the trust in that ultimately. Did you hear the show or see, because I did a video of it too, that I did with Dr. Eben Alexander?
I did not.
So Dr. Eben Alexander had a near-death experience. He was a neurosurgeon. And why I loved his story was because it was the perfect law of attraction story. A neurosurgeon who was adopted and never met his sister, I think she had passed before he ever met her. And I'm not sure if he even met his birth parents for a very long time. But he followed in the footsteps of his adopted father, and he went to medical school, and he became a well-renowned surgeon, brain surgeon. And when people would come to him and said that they had a near-death experience, he would poo-poo it. And he'd say, let me show you the part of the brain that creates these illusions. And so year after year after year after year, when people would come and tell him, he'd say, yep, that's probably didn't happen. This part of your brain creates illusions. Well, what did he manifest? Meningitis of that part of the brain. So he was out in a coma for like a week. And while he was in his coma, he was with God, basically. And he had a really amazing experience. And he turned around when he came out of the coma, and he wrote Proof of Heaven, which was his first book. And Proof of Heaven is a very, very beautiful story about what happened to him on the other side. And again, because he could prove it scientifically that it didn't actually exist, he had a deep yearning to know the truth. He wanted to know the truth, and science didn't prove it. And so now all of a sudden he created a situation where he found God, he found truth. But it's, again, going into that space. So I've had him on the show. He's written 2 more books since. He's coming on the show again. And I would definitely invite you to read Proof of Heaven. It's a beautiful book, but it's that understanding that it is really all, like, what we can rely on is sort of the energetic sciences that I'm sure you know some of, but he has since coming out of coma. And there's a YouTube video that I did, both a YouTube and a podcast. He's now looking at all the research that supports Proof of Heaven, that supports us being able to, to astral project out of our bodies, to have lucid dreaming, to come in and out of consciousness, and that consciousness isn't about your brain. Anyway, it's a very fascinating. So on one side, I'm going to say I would like you to find him, watch the video or listen to the show. And the show is called Proof of Heaven on my podcast, because I think that will it's just fascinating. Again, the near-death experience. He's a Sag though, so it doesn't matter. So he's a truth seeker. I think the beauty of the Virgo is that virgin, open to all things, open to. And I think that the part that we come down to work on, so me as a Pisces, like, what's the downside of a Pisces? Being too dramatic, being too wounded, being too emotional. And what I mean by that, by being victimized, letting my feelings run my life to a certain degree and not really knowing how to have tools to move through that. What else? Pisces can be quiet. That's not me. Pisces can be, anyway, Pisces can be addicts, big time addicts, because they're so emotional that they don't know how to handle it. So they go to drugs and alcohol and other addictions to numb. Anyway, so there's some of the downsides of Pisces, and then there's of course all the good sides. So for Virgos, there's a control. You kind of come in with the addiction of control, because it's like this need. And I think that is on just your sun sign could be, if we looked at it as, I don't know, and I'm sure there's sort of a Virgo way to unpack it for you. And it might even take some of the sciences that Dr. Eben's been studying. And that's why I want to direct you towards him, because again, he's still a scientist first. And he is really into the research of proving his experience against sort of the doctrine that a lot of doctors use, which is that, we're looking at just science and we can't factor in God or universe or source energy or miracles or any of these other modalities of healing that exist that the medical community doesn't want to agree to, because it's, again, not provable over and over again. But it is, but they're just not using that data. So, okay, so I want to give you a chance to come in here, but I want to read to you the Libra soul sign. In the soul sign, your true node is what you've incarnated in this lifetime to learn. It's literally, here are your marching orders for what to learn in this lifetime. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So there's just 3 sections I'm going to go over. And the first one is called attributes to develop. So this is a list, and it's work in these areas can help uncover hidden gifts and talents. Now, this doesn't mean you're bad at them. It could mean that you're good at all of them. But if you're not good at some of them, then those would be the things to work towards, uncovering hidden gifts and talents by getting better at, adopting a better relationship with these traits. So the first one's cooperation. Second one is diplomacy and tact. Increasing awareness of others' needs. Selflessness, giving support without expecting reciprocity. Creating win-win situations. Sharing. Seeing things through others' eyes. And communicating self-identity. Okay, the next section is the opposite list. It's the tendencies to leave behind. Working to reduce the influence of these can help make life easier and more enjoyable. Impulsiveness, thoughtless self-assertion, lack of awareness of others' need for support, self-centeredness, selfishness, lack of good judgment regarding money, expecting others to be like oneself, indifference to how one is seen by others, resistance to compromise, outbursts of anger, and over-concern with survival. The last section, actually, I might do one more. There's 2 more sections. Okay, there's the Achilles heel, the trap to avoid the bottom line. The Achilles heel Libra North Node people need to be aware of is selfishness. My survival depends on looking out for myself first, and others should make sure my needs are met regardless of anyone else's concern. But it's a bottomless pit. If they feel that others have to constantly fill their need for them to feel safe and connected, they will find they always need more attention and energy just to feel okay. They need to find partners whom they can give to, who will feel so energized that they naturally fill Libra North Node's cup in appreciation. Satisfaction lies in connecting with people who see them for who they are, appreciate them, and want to give back to them. The trap they need to avoid is an unending search for independence. If I can just be self-sufficient enough, I'll have the confidence to relate successfully with others, and I won't feel so lonely. Life has shown Libra North Node people that accomplishments and independence do not make them feel complete. The bottom line is that they'll never feel a strong enough sense of self to become part of a team. At some point, they need to take the risk of losing themselves in supporting another person. The irony is that once they start unselfishly supporting someone else, they begin to feel the joy and glory of their true self shining through. All right, one more section. It's called What These People Really Want. What these people really want is to be their own person, to be the center of attention, discover themselves in different life situations, and to surround themselves with people who feed them energy. To achieve this, Libra North Node people need to refocus their attention away from themselves and discover the nature of the people who've been drawn to them. Once they discern which people truly admire them and want to support them, and once they begin to feed those people energy, the energy that comes back to them will create the situation they want. Okay, before I keep going, thoughts?
Well, my response is that it makes me curious because I always get curious when I feel resistance towards something that I'm hearing. So there were a couple of things that kind of resonated uncomfortably with me. And it's somewhere around the idea of, I think what I'm noticing is that, well, energetically, I'm very sensitive. So I take on a lot of information. And in the physical world, I feel like I am, and I do the acts of being very supportive of other people. Like I mean, it's, it's what I do for a living. I'm a coach, so I'm always holding the space for, just helping people, or whatever comes through me, whatever it is that they need in that moment, whatever that space is. So I'm holding the space for that, which feels like it's support. But what I notice from what I said at the beginning of the show, something that you said that I sort of just like activated something within me is, if I had to be honest, I have a really like big heart, and I'm very loyal. I'm very transparent. Like I can't hide anything. I'm kind of like a puppy a little bit. Like I love to love. I love to be around people. I love to support people. I love to uplift them. I've been a coach in many different ways. I coached a kids swim team, and I've just coached many different ways, and I've been a teacher of many things. But if I had to be honest, I think there's a part of me that would like to receive that same level of support back. And it's in that attachment to the expectation. And I know that this is uncomfortable. Like when we have an attachment to an expectation, that causes discomfort and suffering in some way, but it's there. I have to admit, like, there is a part of me that would like to be supported by somebody like me.
I hear you, sister. But here's the question. Why aren't you giving yourself that?
Yeah, that is the question. That's the answer.
So there is, and I'm not everyone thinks I hate Virgos. I'm not bashing Virgos. We all have victim mentalities, but we have to be honest with ourselves when we're in one. And part of there's part of you that taps into the frequency of wanting it back. You're not giving it to yourself. You're giving it to others in hopes that it will return back to you in the same way. And I'm not saying that there's anything necessarily wrong with that, except that it's going to set you up to be disappointed. Mm-hmm. Because the only person that can give you what you want is you.
Yeah, I know. You're right.
So, right. So why? So is this, and sometimes, because you're a rescuer, right? Let's look at the victim triangle. It's rescuer. And if you haven't heard those shows, mm-hmm. There's 4 of them from Lynn Forrest on the Fit to Love podcast show. And we go over, the last one's betrayal, but the first 3 have to do with victim, rescuer, or persecutor. So you're obviously you're a starting gate rescuer. Mm-hmm. But everyone on the triangle is all of them at some point in time. But you come in as a rescuer first. The problem with being the rescuer is that you want everyone to rescue. It's like that unspoken expectation that if I come and help you, that you'll either do the same for me. It's also the people pleaser in there too, right? The people pleaser that says, I'm going to be really nice to people. And again, part of that is the Virgo trap of doing the right thing. There's probably a very clear definition in your mind about, I have to, like, the right thing to do is this, this, and this. So like the book was talking about, not expecting others to think like yourself, because then what happens is we project that, well, if I'm now in a bad situation, the right thing is that you should be doing what I did for you. Like this is unspoken. We haven't agreed upon it, but I'm going to project it onto you because it's just the right thing to do. Sometimes some of the qualities of earth signs get into a self-righteousness about right and wrong that they think everyone else should agree to. And you're not the only ones. I'm that way too. But it seems to be a trait that I find in a lot of Tauruses. Virgos aren't as martyred about it. Tauruses are, and Capricorns are a little bit more mean about it, and they're more they're usually the ones who are defending their limitations more than anybody. But Virgos have this like, well, look how good I am. Look how good I was. Look how I did this all the right way. Right. And you want others to do the same for you because that's what resonates for you. So back to the question, why aren't you doing it for yourself?
Yeah, this is uncomfortable because the thing is like this is what I coach other women to do. Right? Just like taking care of themselves, like always putting themselves first and slowing down. And I guess that when they say what we're here to learn, we're here to teach, I mean, that's exactly what so as I'm speaking, what I am realizing, this is a pattern too. It's like whenever I always decide to become the teacher of everything I learn. Like so if I need to eat healthy, well then I'm going to teach other people to eat healthy so that I will do it. If I'm going to work, do fitness, well then I'm going to be a teacher of fitness to make sure that I do it. So there is something there. Like, so if I'm going to do yoga, I'm going to become a teacher so that I'm committed to do it. So you're right, there's doing it just for me. Yeah, peeling all of the layers. This is all subconscious, of course, because I don't consciously believe this, and like in my heart, like I know that this isn't true, but there's some self-worth issues there, is what it feels like.
Again, welcome to the club. Okay, this is part of the, okay, no one listening, everyone listening has the same, okay? The root of all of our crap, every single person's, when you cut down to the very, very bottom of all of it is, am I worthy enough? Okay, so, and I'm just saying that only to lighten your feeling of, some people tend to look for, I'm thinking of another particular Virgo client who I had to yell at the other day and change her momentum from negative to positive in about 5 minutes, because the habit, this is where the manifestation challenge will hopefully help you. The habit is to look for the thing to fix. Therefore, we're trying to uncover the broken pieces, and we're looking for evidence all the time of, oh, that's not good, I need to fix that. Oh, where did that come from? Or why do I do this? Let me dig to the bottom. Let me keep digging. Let me keep digging. Let me keep digging. And we forget that basic law of attraction is that I attract what I am, not what I want. So if we're emanating broken, we're emanating worry, we're emanating something's wrong, then we're going to keep finding something wrong. And where you have this need for support and wanting to receive is that you're not giving yourself and practicing receiving. I heard you say you receive things like internally. Well, here's a chance to stretch yourself to be uncomfortable to receive things externally, right? And that you can start that, because in order for other people to get the clue and take the cue, they have to get it from you. Didn't mean to rhyme there, but right, that's my whole Fit to Love branding basically, is that in order for you to attract love of your life, which is you have to be it. And then people will basically reflect back to you what they're getting from you. And so whether it be, I've thrown out a bunch of things from astrology to the rescuer, right? To the Virgo pieces, whether it be any of that, people pleaser, if it's any of that, it's being able to catch those tendencies, and rather than beat yourself up about it, just to notice it, be an observer of it, and then say, what is it that I need? I did a show. I've never repurposed it. It's called 3 Steps to Effective Communication. It's episode 118. I've literally said it 20 million times. You'd think I'd repurpose it by now. Anyway, it's on Fit to Love, and it comes with a needs and feelings list. And it is my number one tool that I have people go through and print out this piece of paper, like lots of printouts of this piece of paper, so that you can literally figure out how to serve yourself. No matter what feeling you're having, it's attached to a need. And that need is something you are responsible to have met. Now, it can involve other people, and there should be multiple, or let's take out the should. You can have different strategies. It'd be best if you had multiple strategies, so you're not dependent on one thing for sure. But as long as you take control of getting that need met, even from the place of intimacy and connection, where you might want to have someone else involved in that, again, it's having options. It's getting those needs met, figuring out what that means to you. When I was single, it was being, having massages was a way to get touched. I didn't do it sexually, but I'm at my love language is touch, one of them. So that was important to me. I love going to the spa. So it's really getting down to, you coaching you, if you will, but not even you coaching you. Forget teaching you, just be it. and figure out what that need is and give that to yourself, whether it be you need a day to cry, you need a day off, you need a day of not thinking, you need a day of literally laying in bed watching Netflix all day long, doing something that logically to you is completely, like you never let yourself do that. Like you probably need to do the extreme opposite of what you normally do. Like, I'm not saying to eat bad, but don't be perfect. Like break that mold of control of like, I have to do it this way. Just notice and figure out all the tools that you want to put into your practices, from meditation to some of the stuff I'll provide on the challenge, just to connect you with the trust in God or Jesus or both. And when you're in alignment with that, and you're supported with the highest possible frequency in the universe, basically, then from there, it's just about listening to your heart and your body and not necessarily to your head all the time. And doing the things that are uncomfortable. And for you, it might be being messy or not being perfect or eating bad food sometimes, or not working out or not meditating. Play hooky to the perfectionism that you might do because you're just afraid of not getting it wrong. Does any of that resonate?
Yeah, it does. And I appreciate all of that, because I mean, I have been practicing a little bit, I love to say, like, actually it's even on my website, like let go of perfection. Cause this is like, I'm a work in progress on this. Like I am a recovering overachiever and perfectionist. It's just something that I continually witness myself in. And, but I think the next stretch for me, what I heard you say, is really just in the being in the moment, and being just like taking that moment to be super clear about what my need is, because that is what I don't do. Like the perfectionism is like that to me, feels like those are still actions. So I can witness myself in that and, like say to myself just to let go of things. And then I'll find myself in a pattern again of like, oh, the house is a mess. And, things like that and I have let go of a lot. And, the whole birth experience with my daughter was all about letting go of control. I lost complete control of my physical body with her birth. And that was when sort of that rebirth began. So it's still a practice for me. But the bigger stretch for me in the moment, when I'm really feeling, as you're talking, is really that practice of being present with what my needs are. But then the next step that sounds even more uncomfortable is taking action on it and being like, oh, you need, whatever, you need to go get a massage, or you need to eat right now, or you need to drink water, or you just need to be a student. Like, can you just go to yoga class and be the student and not always be the teacher? I think that is what I feel as you're talking would be a great thing for me to start witnessing and practicing, of just acknowledging what my need is and acting on it.
So that true node sign of yours is Libra, and Libra is about balance. So it's about asking, how imbalanced am I? If I've given of myself to others for 10 hours today, well, I got 10 hours to make up for myself, right? So are you doing that? Or is it that, no, I'm going to work really hard and do 15 hours over here for everybody else, and then I'm going to take maybe a half an hour today for myself? And again, logically speaking, you're gonna be like, well, I can't make any money if I take 10 hours a day for myself. And that's not what I'm saying, but it's figuring out and being able to tell when you're out of balance. And right now it sounds like there's more time needed evening this out.
Mm-hmm.
And what's going to come along with it, I can already tell, is going to be guilt. There's going to be a fear. Potentially. I'm not trying to put that on you. I'm just picking up that part of the reason why we have to, for me, the Sag part of me likes the logic. When I figure out why, then I know what to do about it. I know how to change it. And I can change it without knowing the why. I don't have to know the why, but boy, clarity feels really good. So, if you're feeling like this perfectionist, people pleasing, whatever, jumping through hoops, if you can just stop every so often and take a second to ask yourself and just go down the rabbit hole with it. Like do the whole, why am I doing this? Why does this get me anxious? Or like, what do I have to feel? Why do I feel this way about the situation? And you go, well, what's the worst that can happen? Well, this, and then this, and then this. And when you finally get down to it, it's all stuff you can't control. If you actually talk yourself down that list, of, well, I'll give you an example. One of my participants who came to both events last year when we did the next big step, she said that she had need for control. Another earth sign, she's Capricorn. And she said she had a need for control. Well, on my list, first of all, that is not a need. Control is not a need. Safety is a need.
Mm-hmm.
And I went through, well, why is it that you need control? What do you think? Well, when I do this work and I do it a certain way, and then I hand it off to somebody else and they screw it all up, and then it comes back to me, and then it's past a deadline. I said, okay, let's keep going down the rabbit hole. So what happens if they pass it to you? You do your best, and then what? What are you concerned about? Well, what she's concerned about is being fired. Because if she's fired, then what happens? Well, then I can't pay my bills. Then I might get evicted. Okay, so what we're really needing here is safety, not control. It's safety. I said, well, how would you feel if you had $30,000 in your savings account right now? She's better. I was like, okay, would your need for safety still be at the height that it is now? No, because if you got fired because everybody is stupid about, who did what, then you wouldn't have to worry about survival for a little while. But because you're in survival mode, it's that now we've projected this intensity of feeling and need and victimness in a way, and reliability on something like a coworker to get the job done right so that I don't lose my job and I'm on the streets. So we have to talk ourselves, we have to keep going deeper and deeper and deeper. And when you get to that bottom line, again, some of the stuff is going to change some of your habits just in general. Like for her, it was really probably saving money. She is a earth sign, so stability is important. So now she has a very stable job that pays her very well, and hopefully she probably has a savings account too, and so she probably feels great. But for other people, it's not just that, it's beyond that. It's about someone else's reaction to them, and they won't like them, or that person will break up with them, or I don't know, something where if you actually continue down the path, you'll get to the place where you have no control over it. You have influence, but you'll have no real control. So if that might make you feel better, like you can get to that place where you're like, oh, why am I so worried about this? I can't even do anything about it at the end of the day. Like I'm doing this whole spiral thing and it's not making any sense. So anyway, that's just an option. I'm not trying to make anyone analytically crazy and keep you in your head too long. But for me, I know it works. And once you do it once or twice, you don't need to do it anymore. It's not every time, because it all leads to the same place anyway. So okay, now I had a whole bunch of other things for you, but we're running out of time. So I want to just come back to that you had purposeful connection to joy and fulfillment and hormonal balance and empowerment. And I know we started with the receiving. You mentioned a lot about receiving and support. Do you feel like we have made some progress in those areas?
I feel like I have received support in this connection, and it feels really good.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and I have taken a lot of notes, and this is my, the other part coming in. Like I have some things I will be following up on. So I'm very grateful. Yes.
Okay. And some of it's going to be like easy stuff in a way, right? This isn't hard stuff. If I had to dumb it down even more, I would say to you every day, instead of work or being like, try to let go of being productive. Like, was I productive? Like, don't let that be your barometer for the day. Start the day off with, what joy can I have? What fun can I have? What exciting, amazing, exhilarating thing can I experience today? And let that be what leads your day, instead of being productive or getting it all done or checking off your to-do list or anything like that boxes in all this other stuff that, oh my God, the thought of it's giving me a back pain. I just don't do to-do lists because of that. I did them. I was an awesome to-do lister. And then finally I'm like, my to-do list is never going to end, like ever. I even made A, B, and C. I'm like, nope, that's not going to work either, because everything gets piled into B and C. Whatever. It was just stupid. And for some people, they need it. So on it, if I may have a to-do list for the day. If I'm like, what do I have to do in the next 3 hours? This, and this. Great. I have a grocery list. But I would let go of the to-do lists. I would let go of a tight, regimented schedule every day. Maybe just have every other day where you regiment yourself, and let your other day be free days, just free days. Oh my God, what would it be like to just get up and be like, I don't have any plans. What do I feel like doing today? Or have a block of time. What do I feel like doing right now? Oh my God, I don't have to do anything. I've allowed this 3-hour block of time to just be. Oh my God, what am I feeling like doing?
Yeah, it sounds amazing. I'm just laughing because it sounds like, is it possible? Like, Yeah, I'm willing to explore. Maybe one day a week, we might start there.
And it doesn't have to be the whole day, just a
Yeah,
block of time once a week where there's literally nothing you have to do. Maybe even make it a day you don't even have to set an alarm. Then you just, like maybe take the day off until noon on one day and just see what happens. Wake up whenever you feel like it, no alarm. Check in with yourself. Am I thirsty? Am I after the bathroom? Do I want to stretch out? What do I want to do today? Like, don't schedule a yoga class. Don't schedule a workout with a friend. I mean, you can maybe in the moment, like say, hey, I kind of feel like working out today. You free? But, no schedule.
got it.
Okay. All right. Well, I know you do this for other people too, but if you happen to want to coach, I'm going to send you some information about if you want to go a little bit deeper on any subjects, or you'd like some other support to keep you accountable to doing nothing and to experiencing receiving. I'm going to send that to you so that you have that. Plus, I'll send you the needs and feelings list, even if you don't listen to the show. It's pretty self-explanatory. You go, what am I feeling? What need is not being met? And then you figure out a few ways in which to get that need met.
Yeah, I'd love that. Thank you. I look forward to that follow up for sure.
You're welcome. And I know you have a podcast, so why don't you tell people about your podcast?
I do. Thank you for that invitation. So, my podcast is called The Embodied Healing Self, which is really just a platform for conscious conversations around the many different pathways to accessing the healer within us. So, the work that you do, JJ, as an empowerment strategist is exactly about accessing what it is within us. Like, I believe that we can heal like 80% on our own. And we're learning to listen to our body, what our needs are, tapping into our intuition. Connection is super important. And I have a ton of amazing guest speakers on the show. JJ is going to be on the show. I'm super excited to have you on there. So yeah, thank you for the invitation to share that.
Absolutely. Well, everyone check out Jen's podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. All right, Jen. Well, I look forward to hearing about all of the joy and fun and lack of structure and unproductivity that you're about to embark on.
Thanks, JJ. I loved sharing this time with you. I really am so grateful and look forward to the 30-day challenge and the email and just continuing to listen to your current podcast and catch up on a few of your older ones that I've already got like 5 on my list right now. Maybe that'll just come up on one of my days where I don't have anything planned. Maybe I just decide to catch up on those couple of shows. But so yes, I love all that you're doing and I'm super grateful. So thank you so much.